Welcome to Passion for Payroll, the podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Khizar.
And we are here for the passionate payroll pros who build trust. You deliver quietly, consistently, and usually without applause. We are here for you.
No fluff, no buzzwords, always fun, just what works and what doesn't, and what you can do about it on a Monday morning.
If you are passionate about payroll, then this is your podcast.
Let's get into it.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
All good. We just concluded Ramadan last week, so all went well with the fasting and everything. And so I'm fit, fine. How about you?
Tired. I'll be honest. I'm tired. I had a long night yesterday. I was reviewing process flow charts, Khizar. 12, my 12-step process that I'm actually deploying at the customer now. And I'm like, geez, I need to look at my own book to do my consulting work. So it's kind of funny where you have your own materials guiding you how to deliver on a process step. So I had a bit of a long night, so I have weary eyes. But we are just, at the time of this recording at least, before the Easter break. And we will both travel to Barcelona.
Awesome. So see you in a couple of days' time, but I'm really looking forward to it. I cleared out my agenda like at the start of the year or before that, and I made sure that I don't have any distractions during this couple of days. So it would be glad to meet you again very soon. And then we'll have a catch up on the topics that we discussed. But today, I think we have another poll that we will discuss, right, Max?
We do have a poll, but before you jump into the poll, Khizar, for those who are watching us, not only listening to us, you may have noticed that I always wear this bright orange zipper hoodie. And Khizar wears kind of a navy blue, really beautiful sweatshirt today. But next week, when we will meet in Barcelona during my event, Passion for Payroll Live, which used to be the exclusive certificate program, he will get one too. So from the next episode, so episode number 4, Khizar will also be dressed beautifully in
orange.
Bright, Passion for Payroll.
I'm looking forward to that and my other gift as well. I know it's a surprise for everyone, but I'm looking forward to both the things at the same time.
Well, actually, when we release this, my second book will have been released. So indeed, next week, there's also the release of The Resilient Professional. But I'm sure we will talk about that book a little bit later. Yes, the poll, Khizar, keeps us on track, just like a payroll calendar. Okay, so the poll we want to discuss today is the one with the question, how is your payroll performance measured? That already implies that it is measured. So we had 4 different voting options for the folks out there. The one that received the most votes, which equated to 55%, was KPIs and metrics. I'm personally very, very pleasantly surprised by that result. However, second in line, Khizar, with 32%, drumroll please, was not measured consistent. Then we had 2 other voting options, some KPIs and some metrics, which together equated to about 13%. So that kind of means that a little more than half of you out there do measure performance with KPIs and metrics, and the other half don't. So Khizar, then my question to you is, how is your payroll performance measured, Khizar?
I mean, again, we go back to that fundamental issue that if payroll is your business's, what is it called, 60-70% of the cost,
large portion.
Yes. Huge portion of it, then any business area has to be measured, not only looking at a very high level picture on the performance, but very thoroughly. It's not just about measuring a KPI just for a dashboard. It is about in the essence of it. And, you can elaborate more on this, but the companies, I'm lucky that I'm lucky, but I'm lucky in the sense that I work for companies which have been having good payroll related KPIs and matrices, and even now we use this for a multi range means of not only judging performance of vendors but our own teams and the satisfaction of our employees. So we link a lot of things
Interesting.
with these KPIs and matrices. So again, just to cut it short, to answer your question, payroll KPIs matrices are indeed, like any other business function, a very important measuring tool for
Yeah.
performance and making strategic decisions as well.
You know what's interesting what you said? Of course, everything you say is interesting, Hazar. This specific part, where you said 60-70%, I sometimes say that. I just found
Yes.
a new research from KPMG and UKG. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. They said on average is between 40 and 50% of operating expense.
I
Give or
mean,
take. I think what they're trying to say is
yes.
the results of payroll represent a big portion of operating expense for
Yes.
any company.
Exactly.
And if we then take that as a given and then say to other people, no, 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 we don't measure anything, right? No, we don't measure. Why should we? It's just payroll, right? We pay on time, we do some control, some
Or
read.
silence is our matrix. So everything, if nothing is making a noise, then everything is fine. So that doesn't work. If we
It
look
does
at,
make me think
yeah,
of a song, the Sound of Silence, not by
yeah.
Simon and Garfunkel, but by LCD Sound System. Check it out. It's this Sound of Silence. Talk to me. Anyway, it's an amazing song. Probably that should
Yeah.
be the title of this episode. Anyway, you can't be a payroll professional, in my mind, that represents that portion of operating expense and then not measure
Yeah.
your performance, right? I think we should all intrinsically want to build metrics. And I want to share a little bit of feedback from my first event in February,
Mm.
where I had a lot of professionals, come by. I think that we had in the end 16 or 17 that joined, and we follow the structure at those events of the book, like the Global Payroll Managers Playbook with the components. And at some point, we derived at now I should component 9, payroll performance, what this is about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I asked the same question, like, do you measure performance? And it was almost the same as the results we have of the poll today. It was
Mhm.
60% did it and 40% did. And we actually had an honest conversation of why
Yeah.
don't you measure it, right? And people did acknowledge, yes, we this is a flaw. We should measure it, but we see so many obstacles
Yeah.
to start measuring. We just don't know where to start. So I said, you've read my book. You should be able to start. He said, no, 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 I understand that, but I just don't have the tools. I don't know this. I don't know that. And I'm like, the only thing you need is Excel
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Google Sheets or whatever your
Exactly.
tool
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Start measuring, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's a very good example because even like I said, I've been lucky that in the companies that I've worked, at least it's measured, but it doesn't mean that you have to have a very sophisticated system or a
No.
very very fancy dashboard. Because what you can do is, and we have done it in the past, now we are more advanced now in what we do, but we used an Excel which was created by someone very locally in our own team and then we replicated across not just in the same country but across the region and then globally as well. So
Same template.
exactly, I mean, for measuring KPIs and performance, but at least have a high level initially an high level one, but that it was developed even more and more to take system errors. Let's take one example. For example, payroll accuracy. You can have vendor related issues, you can have system related issues, you can have bank related. So we can make it more and more advanced even in Excel, like you said. So
Yeah.
the first misconception that, oh, we need a fancy tool or a dashboard or something that uh, is integrated. Okay, that's an advanced stage, but at
Deity.
least you start. Exactly. But first thing is that you acknowledge, like you said, that at least the good part was that in your conversation with the colleagues that you
Yeah.
have in your that they acknowledge that it is necessary. So that's the start.
Step
Then
one.
comes step one. Then comes the part of how you automate it, integrate it, visualize it, and then how you use that data to make strategic decisions. For me, I'm always interested in what will be the uh, byproduct or the end goal. So, for example, sometimes KPIs are just there for
The
the quarterly
dashboard.
meeting,
Yeah.
a quarterly meeting, a dashboard, or a monthly review. But what you need to derive from is how you will improve, like in any other business area or any other function. How are you going to drive better results from those KPIs matrices? And those KPIs and matrices should help you make those decisions rather than just for the sake of numbers on that. So yeah, if Max, you want to elaborate on that, or we can have another
If
topic.
you invite me to elaborate, then I will always elaborate, Khazar.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
No, I agree, and but maybe to also disagree with one of your points. I think step 2 might be is defining what you want to measure. Then step
Mm,
3 would
mm,
probably be to your point.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
start measuring it. And um, if anything, I would probably measure 3 KPIs if you want to get started. The first one is payroll input accuracy. That is everything that you found that is an error before you submit payroll, if you outsource it, or before you start processing payroll
yeah,
yourself, if
yeah.
you have it in house.
Uh,
Because that's an identifier of something is happening that causes
Strange.
stress, right, on the
Yeah,
payroll
yeah.
process. It's either an integration that doesn't work. HR always submits incomplete data. Of course, it never happens to any of the listeners, right? Or something else happens, right? It's an
Yeah.
indication that something's wrong. And to define that, it's very easy. So errors resolved in the data submitted and processed before the payroll is submitted.
Mm-hmm. Pre-payroll, you mean, right?
Pre-payroll, exactly.
Yeah.
Pre-payroll. And the calculation, I have it actually in front of me. That's why I'm reading it out loud. It's the total employees with an error before submission and the total number of employees. Super simple. And then, indeed, start measuring it on a detailed level. But I'll get into that. That's the first KPI, payroll input accuracy. The second one is that I really, really like, and my payroll providers always really, really disliked me tracking it, is first time right.
That's the
Yes.
we'll get into more detail on that one, because I think that's one of the golden ones that
Right?
if payroll professionals know what we're talking about, I think that when you have a vendor especially, that is one of the most critical ones in my view. And I agree with you. So you elaborate on the third one, and then we can come back on the this one. Yeah.
Let's do that. Indeed. So first time right is just you've submitted the payroll, you receive payroll results from your payroll provider. Is there an immediate approval, or do you find errors and does something need to be rerun? First time right. Then, of course, the third one, we have payroll accuracy, right? You have paid people, amazing, woo! And then people start complaining, something happened, right? That's payroll accuracy. It's very easy to calculate total number of employees with an error after it was approved and the total number of employees that were paid.
Yeah, yeah.
And then before we go back to first time right, with all of this, have a level of detail that is added to these errors. So not just one error, two error. No,
Yeah.
this was an error with some metadata like the payroll, the entity, the country, the root cause.
Yes.
And to have the root cause, it can also be one of the payroll team members themselves. So
Yeah.
for the managers out there, the team leads, you really need to create a culture where people feel safe to even log their own error. Because the whole reason why we're doing this is to improve and not to pull up the KPI report at the next performance assessment and say, you had 2 errors, now you will not get a bonus. That's not the purpose, right?
Exactly.
The purpose is to improve. But I know you're anxious to jump into the first time right, also because of some recent experiences, maybe, Khazar. So tell me, why is first time right? Maybe perhaps if you don't start with your performance, start with first time right? And why is that?
I think, and before we go there, you can also tell the audience with reference to what you have in your book as well.
Yes.
What does first time right? How to calculate it? So, if, for example, in our or my experience, you can have it like, okay, you align with your vendor that I will give you maximum of 2 drafts, or your first draft is the standard where anything beyond that is a failure. Or you agree that, okay, I'll give you 2 drafts. The second, after any second draft, the third draft means that you are gone for this month or something. So first time right is definitely that, okay, you get one chance, make it right the first time after submitting the payroll. So for me, why it's important, because like you said, if you go to the accuracy can be 100%, but it doesn't tell you that who put the effort in making that 100%. To the employees, they're satisfied, everything is fine, 100% accuracy. But in my experience, I have seen that despite everything going right at the end of the process, there are issues before the end of the process while payroll is being processed. So when your payroll team is not happy and they are doing bulk of the work for your vendor, or it might be the other way around, right?
Could be.
That
Yeah.
yeah. So what made that effort come to that 100% accuracy is also important, because it doesn't mean that the experience is also only for the employees. It is also for the internal team, right? So for me, in my experience, I think first time right is more important than the accuracy, because once you get the base correct in that payroll system or your payroll cycle, then everything that leads to the final result will be good. So yeah, but
Okay.
you share your experience on that one, right?
Did you just say that you value first time right more than payroll accuracy?
Yeah, I said
I
that.
would assume that that's based on as a KPI, right? Because you of course want to have an accurate payroll, but in terms of an indication of a process failure, with
Yeah.
that I agree.
Proactive versus reactive. So we have to
Yeah.
understand the concept, at least from experience in payroll. Maybe someone starting their career, I think, in payroll, like, okay, I will not generalize, but they will concentrate on accuracy. But experience tells that payroll can also be proactive, right? Like you said, first time input, accuracy, and those are proactive measures. Accuracy is more, I think,
After the fact.
after. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
So that's my take on it. But I would love to hear from you, or when we have interaction on this episode, then it would be fun to hear that.
No, look, I'll tell you a bit of a story as well. First time right. When I worked at a major tech company, Zoom,
Mm, mm,
we also had no tools around tracking, so we just opened up a quick Google Sheet, and the provider that we were using with, we had no SLA around the processing times. Not even like we submit on Monday and you have 3 or 4 business days. Right? So I put that in place with larger countries, smaller countries, and the turnaround time. But then we also moved into the first time right discussion,
mhm,
which was a very good open discussion. And I have to applaud that vendor that I cannot name, but they were very open to having that discussion around what is an agreeable first time right percentage, right? If you would ask anyone, it's 100%. But, let's face it, reality is it's just almost not possible. And we also recognize that that's to both of our faults, because we do all we can to submit accurate, complete, timely data.
yeah,
But sometimes it's just difficult because it's still interpretation. An example is leave.
yeah.
Right? You say the leave started on this day and that day. And then you're like, yeah, but did it really start that day? Or did they call in sick the next day? Do you have a sick
Mhm.
note? Oh,
Yeah.
the data that you sent is from Monday to Friday, but the
Mhm.
sick note says from Tuesday to Monday. You're like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
forgot. Or there's hundreds of different examples, right?
Yeah.
Something can happen. And then the provider as well. What we landed on is it should be at least 80%.
Yeah.
80%. And we agreed to keep track of the reasons of rejections with kind of 2 main things. Was it due to a incorrect submission? Oh, I
Mhm.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
Due to an incorrect submission or incorrect processing, which was the provider.
Mhm.
Um, we never hit 80%. Never on an aggregate level, right? What we found is that APAC was usually better processed than EMEA. EMEA was led to more rejections, and we could find out what it was. Was it certain
Mm,
pay elements? We found that there's
mm,
a lot of reprocessing in equity. There
yeah.
was a lot of reprocessing in certain other items. But the only reason we could have that data-driven discussion is that because we tracked it. Khazar.
Yeah, exactly. And then make informed decisions on things. Improve. For example, if you have, like you said, if there's a problem with the leaves, you can speak to HR that, we need consistency, change your cutoffs. And again, there are so many decisions and discussions that will stem from that tracking, basically.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
uh,
my
yeah,
assumption is always that everyone comes to work to do their best.
exactly.
Uh, No one comes to work to say, now I'm going to submit bad data, like deliberately. I am going to screw up this payroll process just because I woke up and thought, yes, that's what I'm going to do today.
Yeah, unless someone has a sadistic,
A serious disorder or something,
yeah,
or
yeah,
fraud or, okay, those are
yeah, yeah.
education. But I think genuinely everyone wants to come to work and at the end of the day think, yes, this was a good day.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but sometimes not everyone knows how to perform. And I think that's where the conversation usually breaks between payroll and HR and others is
Mm.
that we don't take all that we know as an opportunity to educate others, which if you do and it's effective in the end also supports us.
True,
Because we have better
true.
data, we have less reruns, and we don't have that payroll calendar stress. The
Yeah,
stress I'm
yeah.
talking about, Ghazal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do, but I'm not directly impacted now. But I know for sure
Your
my
team
team,
is,
my teams are.
yeah.
But yeah, it was. Even if I was processing and I was so well versed at the later stages as a specialist or a senior specialist in my team, but it was always there. It was like I mean, it's a ticking time bomb is a harsh word, but it felt like in some months, right? For example, a months where you are paying big elements like bonuses, salary increases, so every second count. And there were times when you tell your family, your loved ones, please do not
Not now.
disturb me. Not now. I'm done. So it
Yeah.
became a matter of life and death for a lot of us. I mean, the specialists and people who actually run on ground. But yeah, I think this is where this is important, that it's not just like we said at the start of the conversation. It's not just about tracking, showing the results or measuring results. It's what you do with them, and that's where you said the second step is more important. What actually you want to measure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I think
so
our,
so
our advice to anyone who's listening and you don't have payroll performance tracking yet, open an Excel spreadsheet, list all your payrolls, your payroll calendars from next month onwards, and just say, how many times have I rejected? And then list the reasons of rejection.
yeah,
Very easy. Do that collectively and start
yeah,
measuring it over time. Then you can
yeah,
create a dashboard, you can create whatever. But if anything, you have a meaningful data driven conversation. And in that discussion that I had with that provider, we didn't just agree on first time right, but we also agreed on the delivery timeline of
mhm,
new results after reject.
yeah, yeah.
I have rejected, I remember one payroll, actually the Dutch payroll, 5 times.
Well,
5 times rejected one payroll. 5 times. This was just a couple of hundred employees. This was not like a
yeah.
super duper complex big payroll. 5 times. I repeat it once more. 5 times, Khazar. I sat in this very room to reject payroll 5 times. We submitted it, I think, on Friday, and we were supposed to pay the next week on Friday,
Mm, mm,
which had a reasonable time frame, I think. But then it was Wednesday morning, and indeed, I rejected for the 5th time. The payments had to go out by Friday.
mm.
And at that time, my payroll approvers were in California,
Well,
which was relatively convenient because they were hours behind, right?
yeah,
So we had
yeah.
some time to play catch.
Two.
But then I rejected it again. It came back on Wednesday late.
Mm,
It was incorrect again. Incorrect again. So for the 6th time, it was incorrect. The actual error was on the employer side because you may know in the Netherlands we have the work related cost scheme.
yes.
I won't go into all the details, but in the payroll tax return, usually of either February or March, you include a lump sum levy if you exceed the budget you need to pay your
Mhm,
percentage,
mm,
the employer levy. Now that amount was incorrect a couple of times. Then it was correct, and then suddenly for the 6th trial payroll, it was incorrect again. Now, then you need to make an assessment as a payroll professional. What am I going to do? Am I going to reject again? or am I approving a payroll that I know is incorrect?
Yeah.
In this scenario, for me, it was reasonably straightforward because no employees were impacted by this. It was
Mm,
a lawyer
mm,
cost. However,
yeah.
there was an overstatement in the financials that I knowingly approved. So I did have to consult my finance colleagues to say, I know these results are incorrect and we are overstating payroll expense at the moment. So we approved payroll, or I approved payroll, and we were on time, also due to the time difference, to approve payroll still on a Thursday evening. So on Friday, the SEPA file hit and everyone got paid. Everyone was happy. But then, remember this, Khazar, we had a conversation with the provider the next week about payroll performance.
Very, very awesome time for them to screw up, I think.
Right? So we were pulling up our little spreadsheet to say,
Yeah.
well, let's
Yeah.
also talk about the Netherlands.
Yes.
But then it was a meaningful conversation with them because
Yes.
we had data. And
Factual. Factual.
exactly, factual.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
speak
Yeah.
to so many payroll professionals who say, our provider is shit. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's SHIT, right? They
Yeah.
don't perform. I say, okay, but do you know why?
Yeah. Or do
Well,
you have
because,
evidence,
yeah,
or do you have facts to claim that?
right?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know how many times did you reject? Did you reject because of your data errors? Is it just a personnel switch? What's happening? But we can't just say they're not performing without actually knowing why.
I agree to that. I mean, you said 5 times, I think 5 times in that conversation, but there are certain examples where I will not mention due to the time and the confidentiality, but I have had some worse experience than this, and unfortunately,
Really?
yes. But again, just going and linking it to the last part, what you said, then the conversation and decisions are much more, factual and crisp from a payroll, because you know for us it's always very simple. The first criteria is, let's make payments to the employees so they have their social or our social responsibilities
Yes.
towards them, and we make that. So when you made the decision, your first instinct was, forget about an overstatement in the financials, let's make the employees salary first, because there have been worst examples where you don't even reach to that level. Then you have to make a decision,
Yeah.
what's the best draft that I can take to make a payment. So we will have, I think, at some point in time, a discussion on payroll continuity. And Max, that's a topic that I think
Likely.
we can have another poll sometime, but
Yeah. Good
that's
idea.
a very broad topic. Just to go back to what you said, I think these are not just numbers, but it gives you or empowers you to then make decisions and then have conversations which are more direct towards
Yes.
this topic, rather than, oh, vendor performance is not good, but then, okay, what's not good, what's
Or
not work.
HR always submits late.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what countries, what data, what
What data?
policies, what team exactly?
What type of data is coming wrong? Is it
Yeah.
is it coming from finance, the expenses, or something related to the car value, which is coming from the administration side, or like we so call it, facilities, or it can be your own team's error that you spot negligence. So
Yes.
that's also, I okay. Just to be fair to everyone, it's not just the vendors,
No, it's also
people
us.
outside of payroll, right? It can be the payroll team as well. So those are things where we have a measurable means to look into that conversation with everyone around, and then improve as well. It's not just, like you said, at the end of the year we open the performance review, either for a vendor, either for our team, for ourselves, that, oh, these are the mistakes you did, you don't get a bonus, you get this, get that. But at the same time, then you make strategic decisions that, okay, if there is a problem which is recurring, how do we solve it? And is it just related to one country, one entity, one area, but it
Or
impacts
whatever.
exactly.
It also reminds me, and we're coming up to time, but um, I had a consulting gig at a company about 7,000 employees in the Netherlands, and literally sat with the CHRO, CFO, and the CEO because they were the sponsors potentially of this project. And I said to them, I said, it's 7,000 employees. Yeah, yeah. I said it's was it 42 million on a monthly basis, which for them equated to about 39% of operating expense. They said, oh, that's a lot. I said, yes. And by the way, you have zero automation. Everything's 1,400 tickets manual there.
Wow.
They were like, no way. I said, yep. I said, and you have no performance tracking whatsoever.
Mm.
they said, okay, then we are endorsing this project to go ahead because we cannot accept that. If only we knew better. Also, by just saying that you don't have some, can even get a project approved to get tools in there, right? That's just what I wanted to say. But hey, I think we are almost, well, we are at time, I think, Khizar. So I'm going to say the famous words that's a wrap on Passion for Payroll, the podcast.
Thanks, Max. And if you are passionate about payroll as we are, then follow me and Max on LinkedIn for more stories, polls, and real talk.
Exactly. Until next time, friends. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.